Good afternoon, and welcome to episode 1 of Inside Greyhound Athletics Podcast. I'm Ryan Shoemaker, your host, and I'm sitting here with the head coach of Greyhound Football, Coach Kelley Lee. Coach, first off, thanks for being our first guest on this esteemed podcast that we're getting started here to give all of Greyhound Nation an inside look on what's going on here with the NMU Athletics.
I appreciate it, Ryan. Thanks for having me and let me give me a chance to talk a little Greyhound football.
Now, I would say that in your 20-plus years of coaching experience, this has probably been the most interesting offseason that you have faced. Basically, the guys left in March, about a couple weeks before spring football got kicked off, and it doesn't look like we're going to have them back before January, maybe December. What's been your thoughts on the coronavirus pandemic and ENMU's football response to keeping everyone safe, but still being able to get in some sort of workload throughout this offseason?
Well, obviously, we've kept our players incredibly safe because, we haven't brought them back. So they haven't had any exposure to anything based on anything required by the school. So, but on the other side, it's been challenging because, most of the other schools in our conference have kids back. So a few teams are playing right now, but the other ones are practicing and they're working out. So, you kind of feel like if you're not doing a lot, you're getting behind every single day. So we stress that to our kids. We tell them what other people are doing and say, what are you doing today? Because you're never going to be the same. You're either going to get better or get worse, is the old saying. And we're kind of saying we're either getting better or we're getting behind. So we can't focus on what they're doing, so we're focusing on us. And Larry Bernardo our strength coach, sends out workouts every day. And, we can't. We don't have any way to make sure the players are doing them, but we hope that they're doing them. And they have a run and workout, and they have lift and workouts and agilities and stuff like that. And so, we're having to give them a lot of ownership and hope that they're being accountable to themselves and their teammates and taking ownership in the program. And if they do that, we'll be all right. And if they don't, it's going to be a struggle. But good thing is we got a lot of old kids. We got a lot of good leaders, and I think that the buy-in that they've had in the program through the few years will carry over. So, that's been the challenging part, and we're hoping that they're being diligent in those efforts.
Now, as challenging as the offseason has been, there's definitely some positive momentum in the program coming off last season, an 8-4 record, victory in the Heritage Bowl, and 3 strong wins at the end of the year. As you've taken over here as the head coach these 3 years, the first year going 8-2, second year coming out in a very tough schedule, going 5-6, and then the third year coming out against that same schedule, obviously flipped home and away, and posting that kind of record, getting the program's first postseason win. Where would you rank the status of the program right now as far as your personal thoughts on a program on the rise and just your thoughts on moving into this next season?
Yeah, I think we're at a place where we're trying to get over the hump of being a bowl team, being that third best team in the conference, and trying to find a way to knock one of those top guys out and win the conference or get into the NCAA playoffs. We were really close in 17. A lot of people thought we should have been in the playoffs. We lost to the number 4 team in the nation as our only 2 losses. And then in 18, we had that tough schedule, played good at the end of the year. And in 19, we really put it all together and finished strong, probably playing as good a football at the end of the season as any time that I've been associated with Greyhound football, going all the way back to maybe 13 when we won the conference and won 6 straight. So we feel like we're in a good place. We had a ton coming back on defense, a ton of veterans, ton of our key players. We feel like we were only going to be better defensively, and offensively we have basically our entire offensive line back. I think we lost one starter and one other guy that played a lot, but we have 8-9 guys that have played there. So we felt really good. Obviously, our question mark is at the quarterback position whenever you have someone who started for 4 years, and not having spring ball is challenging because we're not going to get a chance to really evaluate those guys. But we think we got some capable kids in there, and we've had a tradition of replacing our B-backs or our fullbacks. Paul Terry's the latest in a line of All-Americans, but if history repeats itself, we got some quality guys, and someone should step up. It may be a little bit more by committee than it's been the last few years, but I think we'll get good production out of that spot.
What is the message to those guys? I know we'll talk about some names in particular as we move along throughout this podcast, but with that leadership and that production that's leaving and Wyatt Strand and Paul Terry, what is the message to the younger guys right now that know that they're going to be competing for that quarterback or B-back or even some slot back production moving throughout the spring?
Well, I think opportunity, there's not a lot of times when you're looking at a position where one guy took almost all the reps. So there is not, that net guy that's kind of next in line and you're saying the position's open, but you kind of know. All those guys know the position's wide open, so they can work hard and compete and know that they're going to get a chance when we get back on the field to compete for that spot. And they all know the production those spots have and how they can be catalysts for our offense. So I think that, they're motivated, and I think everyone sees that there's an opportunity there, those guys in those position groups, and we're looking forward to really seeing them get out there and compete.
As you mentioned, no matter who takes over those roles, they're going to have a really good offensive line to work behind, led by Vili Fisiahi, honorable mention All-American last season. This offseason has got to be really tough for those guys. I think it's safe to say that they're already a little undersized, in many cases going up against the Lone Star Conference defensive linemen that they face week in and week out. But talk about that group's development and what you're looking to, or what you expect from them come this spring.
Yeah, I think you hit it nail on the head. That group really plays well together. I think they're the sum of the parts, the sum of the whole is better than the individual parts. I think when you put them together, they're a lot better than if you were just looking at them statistically. We really would have liked to have that offseason because we're not really a strong group up front, not big, so that strength training was really a way we could make a jump. But I think those are the kind of kids that have probably been working out pretty hard on their own. So I think we'll still get some of that. But what's really great about them is their camaraderie, their teamwork, their unselfishness. They understand a lot of people are going to play. They look at it as a group, and they're technicians. They really understand what we're doing. Coach McCraw's done a great job with them, developing them. And they take the right steps. They use the right techniques. And I'd say they're probably as a technical group of an offensive lineman as you'll find anywhere in the country. And I think that's why we've been so productive. So, I think they understand our scheme. I think they understand who they're supposed to block and how they're supposed to block. We're just hoping that they're moving the weights and staying in shape and doing the things they need to do that so they can do that to the best of their ability when they get back. But that's definitely a strength and makes us feel a lot better when you're breaking in a new quarterback.
Two more strengths of the team that will be coming back, and hopefully the spring of 21 will be the California duo of Justin Manyweather and Zach Fields. Zach Fields kind of the more pure wide receiver, but Justin Manyweather, that slot back / wide receiver / punt returner. I don't think you can put enough positions on his title. Zach really came on strong last year in those last two games against Western Oregon and Southern Arkansas in the bowl game. And then Justin Manyweather was just lightning in a bottle all season long, made a lot of really big plays. What do those guys bring to the offense that maybe this ground strike attack hasn't had in the past?
Well, I think Zach, talk about him first. He kind of gets us back to where we were a few years ago, where we had a big threat receiver out on the outside that creates matchup problems. We're going to get primarily one-on-one coverage. And so when you have someone out there that's physical, 6'3", 6'4", can run a little bit, runs good routes, that can create problems for the defense. So Zach gets us that guy. And he started off the season really good. And then probably most people didn't know he was battling a thigh injury through the mid part of the season. His production went down a little bit, and then he kind of got healthy, and he really reemerged big in those last two games. So I think, we're really looking for him to have a big senior year. And he's a great kid. He works hard. I think he'll be one of our leaders. Really improved as a blocker throughout the year. By the end of the year, he was really a great blocker on the perimeter, which helped us bust some long runs. But I think Zach, you'll see him more. We're making an effort here in the off season as we're doing film breakdowns is to find ways that we're going to get him the ball, either by get him involved in the run game, screens, formations, tweaking maybe our routes where he's running the primary route. Maybe a running back did it, but now the wide receiver will take on that running, switching the roles so that he's going to be highly involved in our passing game. And then Justin Manyweather, I think you said it right. He's a true all-purpose player, really good in the return game, really good receiver, and then he averaged about 10 yards a rush for us last year. So with graduating Johnny Smith, with graduating Darrell Wiggins, I see him more getting more touches on the ground. You know what I mean? I don't know if you'll see him lined up as much at wide receiver, but we'll definitely look to throw him the ball from that slot position. But you'll see him as the primary guy on pitch. A lot of times when we're looking to get the ball on the perimeter, and we've got some other guys coming in that'll join him, and some speed and a lot of talent in that position. But he's a guy that has proven with 3 or 4 touchdowns of 50 yards or more, we get the ball to him out on the perimeter one-on-one, he can really make some things happen.
Shifting to the defensive side of the ball, which I think really came on strong in the last couple games. I think that was really the difference maker in those last 3 wins against Angelo State, Western Oregon, and Southern Arkansas to end 2019. Coach Mike Walton, moves on to other opportunities, a recent Lone Star Conference Hall of Fame inductee as well, so really proud of him and his connection to Eastern New Mexico football as a player and a coach. But Coach Russell Thompson comes in from Cisco College. He was the head coach there for 3 seasons, and talk about doing more with less at Cisco College, playing just a brutal schedule year in and year out against some of the top junior college programs in the country. What kind of mentality and scheme is he going to bring to the defensive side of the ball?
Well, I think scheme-wise, it's going to be very similar to what Coach Walton did. We're not going to change too much there, and we want to congratulate Coach Walton on that phenomenal honor. Long time coming, well-deserved, a member of the Hall of Fame, and we're excited about him and for that. But I think Coach Thompson, very similar style of defense, likes to bring some pressure, and I think that's one of the things we did late in the year that we did really well. And I think it's good for our kids to be physical and being aggressive. So I think that mentality will play right into what we kind of discovered was a big strength of ours late in the year. I think he's an old school football coach. He's, he came up at a similar time as me, so a lot of our core values are the same. And he's well tied into Texas, both East Texas and West Texas. So he's got a great recruiting base. He's going to help us bring in some good players. But the biggest thing is what he was able to accomplish as a head coach at Cisco Junior College, a place similar to Eastern New Mexico where you're playing against schools, even though they're in Texas, they're not quite funded the same way some of the other junior colleges in Texas are. So kind of on a little bit of an uphill playing field, but able to still find ways to be physical and aggressive and win games. And so I think he's going to fit right in here and understand how we win games in Eastern New Mexico and our recipe and formula. And I think he's already bought in, and I can't wait till the kids really get to interact with them and start growing together. And right now it's Zooms and stuff like that. And some of them, the ones that were in town, have been able to meet them in person, but most of them have only met them online. So we're excited to get them reunited. And then we got the rest of our defensive staff back with Coach Silver, coaching our defensive linemen, did a great job. Coach Sims coaching our secondary, so and then we moved Coach Osborne over from tight ends to linebackers, and Coach Osborne played linebacker for us, so that's a natural fit. So I think Coach Thompson's got a great staff over there. I think they got a lot of buy-in from the players, and I think we got some phenomenal players returning on that side of the ball. So we really think that's going to be a strength of this team.
Although the leadership on the sideline has changed from the coordinator position, I think it's safe to say that the leadership on the field, on the defensive side of the unit, is going to remain the same with Noah Schweitzer. Anybody that's paid attention or watched Greyhound football really can see the impact he makes on the field, not just from a playing perspective, but a leadership perspective. And he really is kind of the nucleus of that defense. Talk about what he's meant to the program and moving into his senior season, the impact that you expect that he'll make.
Well, first of all, Noah's just a phenomenal kid, phenomenal young man, great person, high character kid, great student, and he's a great football player. And I think Noah's a little disappointed with his junior season. He had such a great sophomore year. But Noah's such a student of the game. He missed a lot of practice last year just because of class schedules. He's got a degree where classes aren't offered all the time, and it might be he has to take that class. It might not be offered again for another year. So he had to miss quite a bit of practice. And I think that showed. I think Noah's one of those guys that needs those reps because he's such a smart football player. The more he gets those reps, the better he plays. And so, he's moving in now in the spring where he shouldn't have some of those conflicts. He'll get that practice. And the other thing is we had to move him from the wheel to Mike position last year. And I think he's better suited at the wheel, although he was still an all-conference player at the Mike. I think now he's going to be able to move back to that wheel spot. So we're expecting a huge year out of him. And then I can't even describe how big his leadership is. One, not only as a great human being leader, but also he's just the kind of guy who's going to set the right example. He's going to prepare. He's going to work hard. He's going to do the right things on and off the field. So leading by example as well is what you get with a Noah Schweitzer.
Mason Richards had a phenomenal freshman season. I think, you look across the conference, I don't think any other freshman had the impact on the field that he had, led the Lone Star Conference in sacks, and showed up in the big games, particularly in that Angelo State game, making a couple of huge sacks, carried over to the Heritage Bowl. He was just a mismatch nightmare and really took advantage when teams couldn't shift his way and couldn't slow him down. You haven't been able to see him throughout the spring or the fall, but he's very active on social media and seeing the work that he's put in, and he seems to be a lot bigger and a lot stronger, which as a freshman, he was ready to play at the collegiate level, but adding those 10 to 15, 20 pounds, I think will really take him to the next level. Talk about his impact and what you expect from him. Named a preseason All-American. There's a lot of hype, but he's definitely been putting in the work as well.
Yeah, I mean, 14 sacks or whatever it was as a freshman, true freshman, is in a conference like the Lone Star is really amazing. I hope that he's gotten stronger, putting in the work. I have been able to see him a few times because he was here for most of the semester taking classes online, but he was in town and early in the summer, and I have seen him a few times. I've run into him, and I can attest that he has put on some weight, good weight, and he looks really good. He looked maybe like a young boy last year, and now he looks like a young man. And if I was an opposing coach, I'd be a little worried about, he was already on everyone's radar, but I think he's really gonna cause some people fits this year. So we're excited to see his freshman to sophomore improvement. It's going to be harder for him to get the same kind of numbers because everyone knows who he is now. He led the conference sack. He's not sneaking up on anyone. So he's going to get a lot more double teams. He's going to get tight ends kept in. He's going to get backs chipping. But that's a good thing because now the offense is having to account for him. That's going to leave a lot of other people's one-on-one and vulnerable for blitzes and stuff. So I think, even if his production was to drop off, I think just the fact that he's worked hard and he's still gonna be a great player, you're gonna see his impact in other areas. I think other people are gonna step up and get some more sacks and some more tackles for loss. But Mason's a great player, another great kid, and we're really excited to have him back here in his sophomore campaign.
Two names that really stepped up last season at the safety position, Vicente Walker and Colby Russ, both received some postseason accolades for their performance on the field, but at different times throughout the year, those guys really proved to be some of the best football players on the field for either team. Talk a little bit about them and the difficulty of playing the safety position, not only in this defense, because I feel like they're asked to do so much, but in this conference where they have to face some extremely quick and fast receivers on the back end, but they also have to be able to step up into the box and make some tackles.
Yeah, at first, Vicente Walker kind of plays our hound spot, which is the most difficult because you're highly involved as that extra player in the box, the unblocked guy that people kind of count for that, if he makes a tackle, it's a 2-yard gain. If he doesn't, it's a 20-yard gain. But he also is going to have to cover people one-on-one with no safety help. So it's the most challenging position in our defense. We had a great one in Dante Urea, was an all-conference player. Unfortunately, he had some health issues, wasn't able to continue. And then Vicente came in and took his place. And, the bottom line is we were a different defense when Vicente Walker was on the field last year. We were 7-1 in games he played and 1-3 in games he didn't. So that tells you the kind of impact not only he had on our defense, but on our team. And some of that, a lot of that was because of his ability, but a lot of it too was just because of his leadership. He's very vocal. Our whole defense communicates better when he's on the field. He's a smart football player, great athlete, but extremely smart football player. Played quarterback at junior college and safety. So, he's that kind of field leader for the defense, really the quarterback of our defense. So really excited. His knee that was bothering him, he's been able to have some work done, some surgery, he's rehab. So he could be at a higher level than he's ever been, athletically with us. So we're really excited about Vicente and what he brings to our defense.
On top of the names that we've mentioned that jump off the page as returners, I know last winter you were really excited about some talented mid-year transfers that were coming in to join this program on top of a talented class of freshmen. But I think the quality of football player that's coming into this program now with the recent success and really the now pattern success that Greyhound Football has put together, it's kind of a different looking football player. The recruiting base has expanded. The number of players that are coming in has expanded. Talk about some returners that you're excited about and just the overall prospect of bringing in better players year in and year out.
Sure. Well, first let's start. We didn't finish talking about Colby Russ, so let's talk. Another returner, guy who started at 2 different spots, our strong safety and our free safety during the year. So very versatile, was an all-conference guy going into his junior year now. So out of Amarillo, Canyon Randall, tons of speed. Big kid, physical, another very similar to Noah Schweitzer, smart football player, needs those reps, likes those reps. The more reps he gets, the better he plays. So I love those smart, intelligent football players. Colby's one of those, guy who can hit you, but has got the speed to run too. And so I think he's very versatile, and we can play him both at that strong safety opposite Vicente or as that high safety. So he brings a lot of versatility. So we're excited about him. Some other guys on defense, is Kendrick Milford as a freshman, started, I think, 4 games for us out of Albuquerque La Cueva. Only going to get bigger, faster, stronger. I mean, he got overlooked a little bit because Mason started at the other DN and was getting all the set, but there was a run of 4 or 5 games there where we were starting two true freshman defensive ends. And then Quincy Arsenault, who was injured a little bit and gave Kendrick room to get on there, he was a player of the week for the whole conference early in the week against Mesa State. So, to have those 3 defensive ends coming back, Kendrick, Quincy, and of course Mason, that tons of depth there. Inside, we got some returning starters, Rapi Satoa, guy who's played a lot of football for us, Rakeem Hatchett, guy inside that's played a lot of football for us. And then we should get Kevin McCracken back, who was maybe coming into fall camp last year, probably our best interior defensive lineman, a guy we thought could be an all-conference guy, and then had the injuries and had to sit. So we get him back. So really talented defensive line. Of course, we talked about Noah at the linebacker spot, but we lost our corners. We have Ryan Moore returning, who started early in the year, and then we were able to bring in some transfers. And the thing that I think with some of our transfers and guys like you brought up is we got more size. You know what I mean? We've been able to bring in some fast guys before, but the guys that we were getting were the guys that other people were passing on because they were short. And then sometimes you get in those jump ball situations, and it hurts you. I think we were able to get some guys that still had that kind of speed, but have some size. We got a Division I transfer out of Jacksonville, Lino Odenot, who we think can be a good player. Romel Jones, transfer, Division II, proven starter. I think we've got some guys 6'1", 6'2", that now can match up with some of those bigger wide receivers.
You talk a lot about the success on the field, and in the last 3 years have been really impressive under your leadership. But I think it's the off-the-field stuff that really sets this program apart from some of the other programs and the experience our student athletes have being a part of Greyhound football, always being near the top academically against the other football schools in the conference, the off-the-field community service outreach. What about you and just the way you've developed as a coach has put those 2 things at the forefront of what you're about and what you're about as a head coach?
Well, I grew up son of 2 educators. Both my parents were teachers, so education's always been really important to me. And I think at our level, there's very few people that are going to continue on playing football. I mean, we have some that play and have a chance, but 98% of them are going to need to get a degree to make a living. So, I think that's what we're here for, give them an opportunity to do what they love while they're getting a great education. So I think we just stress it. It's important. Our coaching staff, checks in with the kids, how they're doing academically. We require them to sit in the first 2 rows. We go out and we check to make sure that not only they're in class, but they're there on time and they're prepared. And we spend time. Coach McCraw does a great job kind of lining out our academics. He's our academic coordinator. I used to do that job before I was a head coach, and so I know how valuable it is, and so it's just something that's important. And we took a lot of pride in it. We had won 3 straight LSC academic championships, and it really took a pandemic to knock us off. When we went all online, I think we finished 2nd this year. I think Kingsville was like a 3.3. I don't know. To me, that's a really high GPA. I wonder how much work they were actually having to do. They went from like a 2.2 to a 3.3 all of a sudden, so it makes you wonder. But our GPA was still high. It was like a 2.8, 2.9, which for our football program's up there, and so we're proud of that. And we look forward to getting back in the classroom so we can get a hold of that GPA title again and make it, maybe I think it was 6 out of 7, so maybe it'll be 7 out of 9 next time we win it. But it's just something we stress and is important to us. And then the community service, I think there's a couple things. I think, one, we want our kids to be employable. So, we want to give them a great experience playing football. We want them to get a great education. But the other thing they needed to come out of here is be able to get jobs. Well, it helps you on those job interviews if you've done community service. If you can talk about outreach, and it helps if it's something that meant to you, because that's going to show in job interviews. It's going to look good on resumes. So we want to help our kids and give them those opportunities to do those meaningful things. And the second is we're in a small community. Small community like Portales, we're truly part of the community, and we need to get out and be visible and knock off some of those stereotypes. And when people in our community get around our kids and get to see them and realize what great young men they are, the more people are going to go to the game, more people are going to support not only Greyhound football but Eastern athletics. So I think it's just important for our kids to take ownership in the community, get out, get involved, and help make a difference in Portales. And we've done that a lot of ways with anything from cleanups to free football camps to food distribution, to helping people move, whatever it does, we're always willing to help, and we reward our guys with points and things within their off-season competitions when they do that community service.
You mentioned this program getting over the hump and qualifying for the national playoffs. Obviously, this spring, that won't be an attainable feat, but what will be the measure of success this spring when we are able to get back on the field and play some games, whether it's 4 to 8 or whatever it's going to be? I think there's still a lot up in the air at this point. What will be the measure of success?
Well, I think that, that's a tough question, because I really can't answer it honestly till I see the kids back, see what kind of shape we're in, see what people have done. But, we'd like to go out. We're going to play for a conference championship in the spring. We'd like to go out and compete for it. I would say if we had our kids on campus, we'd probably be the favorite. With Commerce opting out, Angelo and WT have already played. You look at the 5 teams that are left, us, Midwestern, Kingsville, UTB, and Western. We beat 4 out of the 5 and should have probably beat UTB. We didn't play our best football. Give them credit. They played really well that night. But I would think, if all things were equal, we might be the favorite. Of course, everyone knows that they've had their kids lifting. They've had their kids running. And now they actually are practicing football. So we all know we're far behind. But I think we want to go out and compete. And I think it's important this spring, for our kids to have fun. In the middle of the pandemic, so much has been lost from so many people. I think we're really going to make it important that we go out and embrace the opportunity that we get to compete, even if maybe we're not on the same playing field, or and we're just going to go out and have fun and really use it as a building. It's a free year of eligibility for everyone, which I think is a phenomenal thing the NCAA did. So nobody's getting cheated a year. If they graduate and are happy, they can move on. But if they want to get a full season, they can come back. Freshmen can play. It doesn't hurt. So we're going to play a lot of players. We're going to go out and have fun. And we just want to see that we're kind of getting back on track to where we were headed at the end of last year. We really thought we were poised for this to be our year. Mm-hmm. We want to get back to a point where we head into the fall that we really feel like this is our year. It may not be our year in the spring yet, but we want to be there by the fall. But make no mistake about it. We're going to come in, we're going to work hard, and we're going to go out there with the expectation to compete in every game. And I think it's a phenomenal opportunity to compete for in a year like this, to have a Lone Star Conference championship. So that's our goal, and that's what we're going to work toward. But along the journey, we're going to enjoy it, and we're going to have some fun.
I think that's really important, especially right now. And, as the schedule comes out and as there's some concrete plans that become and, get set, what does from now until the beginning of that spring schedule look like for the program?
Sure. Our kids, we send them out a list of things every day, and the number one thing is schoolwork. You know what I mean? That's the number one thing. The next thing is we have an app. Larry Bernardo sends them, our strength coach, and it's to do your workout. And then from there, it's various. We might have some extra agilities or running or stuff we're recommending to them. But, that the big thing is, you got to be eligible. You got to stay on course to graduate. So get up. What we say is get up and get out of bed. If we tell them, if they were here, they're up by 6 or 7 a.m. every day at the latest. I told the guys the other day, I said, if you're sleeping at 8, you're not doing it. You're not being a college student athlete. You're never going to be a college student athlete and sleep until 8. There might be some college students sleeping at 8, but there are no college athletes sleeping at 8 anywhere in the country. So if you're sleeping in at 8 right now, you're not being a college athlete. You need to get up, get out of bed, eat something, either get your workout in and then start your schoolwork, or do your schoolwork and then get your workout in later. But if you're waiting to 8 or 9, you don't have time to get it all done in a day. So, we're stressing on getting out of bed, getting your schoolwork done, getting the workout done, and then trying to stay connected with your teammates, with your coaches. And we'll start next week. We gave them some time off from the Zooms and stuff early because We know that the courses are front loaded, and we really wanted them to be able. We want them to work out, but want them to really be able to focus on their academics. Now in October, we're going to start with some offensive defense scheme, going back over our schemes, and then we'll move into position meetings, things of that nature, and it's hard. You can't, with everyone, some people are working different schedules. You can't really make anything mandatory, but we'll set times and they'll be there if they want to go back and watch them. And we'll start watching film of last year and our cut-ups and of our opponents we're going to play and start spend a little extra time on the mental than we normally are able to do because we're not able to do the physical part with them.
Well, Coach, I think I speak on behalf of all Greyhound Nation. Although it's been a tough year, I think we're really excited to get Greyhound football back on the field sometime in the spring and really excited to see this program continue to take the next step and hopefully get over that hump and get into the national playoffs. Appreciate you taking the time for stopping by and talking with us a little bit this afternoon, and good luck.
Thank you for having me. Go Greyhounds.